So today I'm going to be making the kitchen table for my 1970s miniature cottage, a record player and stand, along with some records of course, a wall clock, a dartboard, and some miniature shoes for the front hall. So let's get to it! I first cut out a little template for the chair frame and then traced them out onto some MDF, then painfully cut them out using an X-Acto knife. I used some super glue to hold them together and went over the whole thing with some Mod Podge. And I also cut out and glued a table together. I took some brown acrylic paint and just painted the chairs and the table as well. Now for the chair seats, I used another template and traced it out onto some felt this time. I cut 2 out for each seat and then wrapped and glued some fabric around it. And then just glued them on top. Now, I'm not a master at polymer clay food like some people out there are, but I tried to make some cheese and salami for a little charcuterie board. And of course, a little bread and butter to go along with it. I cut up some wood and just glued it together and stained it to make a little napkin holder, and used the cap of the super glue for another glass. And for the coffee mugs, I just cut out a little bit of paper and just glued it up. I watered down a little bit of blue paint to go over them and then just put a clear coat of gel nail polish to give them that shine. And then just stuffed them with some tissue paper for the coffee. Now the table is packed and making me hungry. Now, every house in the 70s had a record player, and this cottage was going to be bumping to some David Bowie. I used some thin wood to cut out a few shapes and glued them together to make a shallow box and then just stained it. I used some of these gold glass beads to go around the corners. I cut out a piece of aluminum from a pop can and glued it into the bottom, and painted a small wooden circle silver just to elevate where the record would sit. I made the record out of some MDF and painted it. The lid was made from a piece of plastic that I folded and glued the corners together. And I threw on a little hinge. It has to be able to open, of course. And just finished it off with some last touches. I used a little bit of the frosted glass spray paint that I had just on the lid to give it that see-through kind of frosted look. Now it was time to make the record album covers, which I just scaled down and printed out and glued them together. For the record player base, I used some more balsa wood pieces that were already pre-cut. I had these little peg legs laying around and just glued everything together with super glue and stained it. And here it is all finished. But how are you going to hear the music without any speakers? Well, you have to build those as well. So I cut out some little rectangular pieces of wood and glued them together, and then just gave them a stain. And then I used a little bit of a mesh as the front of the speaker. I love how these little speakers turned out. It's too bad they're difficult to see from the back of the cottage. And I made a little fancy shelf for the speakers to sit on top of. And now the cottage needed a few more accessories on the wall, so I printed out a clock and cut out some plastic. I also had these gold rings, so I used those as the frame. And what cottage doesn't have a dartboard hanging in an awkward place? I printed out the dartboard on some photo paper and then just glued it onto the back of a piece of wood. I had used my Cricut to scale down most of everything I'd printed out. It was definitely the best tool I could use for that. And now for my favorite parts. That was sarcasm. Making these tiny little darts. I used some pinheads and very difficultly glued very tiny pieces of cutout plastic. I then jabbed them into the dartboard in frustration. Now, whoever is in the bathroom must make sure there isn't a game of darts going on before they open the door. I needed to start making the hallway area before it got too cramped. I took some pieces of quilt fabric I had and made some jackets. No sewing, all glued together. I might have put too much detail into some of these, especially the jean jacket, which I didn't even end up using on the rack, but I will definitely find a place somewhere in this cottage for it. I made some little shoe sole shapes, say that 3 times, out of polymer clay, and then just took a little piece of wire to make the kind of tread lines in the shoe. I was going to attempt to make some shell toe Adidas, so I used some more clay around the top and then just cut out some white fabric to glue around the clay base. I put some super glue all over the fabric just to stiffen it, and then just painted it a bolder white with those classic stripes. For the shoelaces, I just took a little bit of string, put a little thin layer of glue over top of it, shaped it the way I wanted to, and let it dry. And then just glued them on top of the shoe and cut them down to size. And they turned out so flippin' cute. But there is a family of 5 living in this cottage, and 5 painstakingly shoes had to be made. But they all turned out looking good in the end, so it was worth it. The next shoe I was going to make was going to be a little boat shoe. I basically did the exact same as I did with the Adidas shoes. So they turned out looking more like a slipper shoe, but that's good, works for me. And who didn't have a pair of Pumas back in the 70s? And these little polymer clay flip-flops were the easiest to make, so I made 2 different sizes and 2 different colors in these. I cut out a little piece of carpet for the rug and then just glued all the shoes in place. Messy, of course. Who lines their shoes up anyways? Please like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the bell to get notified for my upcoming videos. Thanks for watching!